Hello, and welcome to the Guitar Moves Romania International Conference. My name is Bogdan Cioceanu, and I'm a PhD student at National University of Music in Bucharest. My research coordinators are Professor Dr. Șerban Dimitrie Soreanu and Professor Dr. Cătălin Ștefănescu Pătrașcu. Before I start, I would like to thank Istvan Beche for inviting me to participate in his conference series and Florian Baptan Varga for the good communication. Today I will present my doctoral research regarding guitar concertos written by Romanian composers. The works I will discuss are three concertos: Cătălin Ștefănescu Pătrașcu Second Concerto for Guitar and String Orchestra, Dumitru Capoianu Guitar Concerto, and Anatol Vieru Music for Guitar and Orchestra. My thesis is divided into 4 chapters. First chapter is an introduction in the development of the concerto genre throughout more than 3 centuries, from Baroque times to nowadays. In the second part of this chapter, I focus on the guitar concerto development, from Giuliani A Major Concerto to Leo Brouwer Concerto No. 3 Elegiaco. Second chapter is describing several concert setups alongside the proper sound amplifying and recording techniques. In the second part of this chapter, I present the procedures used by composers to obtain the most striking sound of the guitar, the mixture between the guitar and orchestra, and the combinations of different orchestral instruments and technique that are very successful. In the third chapter, I am analyzing the 3 guitar concertos written by Romanian composers. I describe the stylistical aspects of each one, the way that can be performed, and also the amplifying and recording techniques that I used. The fourth chapter contains the summary of my thesis and also the pedagogical applications of my research. It is impossible to present every detail of my research, so I will focus on the main topics of each chapter. The concept of concerto is based on the opposition between a soloist and an orchestra, and it dates back to the small string ensembles of the Baroque period. This type of work was meant to reward and showcase the better instrumentalists. There are many difficulties that kept the guitar concerto from its assertion. Issues of balance and volume, lack of well-written repertoire, stopped the guitar concerto from outgrowing its perceived novelty status that once made it popular during the early 19th century. With less than a dozen guitar concerti written during the Romantic period, it seems that composers had given up on the idea of trying to merge the soft-spoken voice of the Romantic guitar with large or Romantic orchestras. The guitar concerto resurfaced and gained popularity in the modern period through the lifelong quest of concert guitarists such as Andres Segovia and Julian Bream. They asked well-respected composers to write for the guitar in order to legitimize the future of the instrument and genre. Issues of balance and volume have been fixed by recent developments in amplification technology and instrument design. A handful of guitar concertos have gained widespread acceptance and are performed across the globe on a regular basis. These include Concerto de Aranjuez by Joaquin Rodrigo, Concerto for Small Orchestra by Heitor Villa-Lobos, and Concerto No. 1 in D Major by Castelnuovo Tedesco. Second chapter. There are 3 main types of environment where we can perform concertos. Rooms. are proper for guitar and piano performances. It is not necessary to amplify the guitar, however, the piano must play with sordina. Chamber. This place is proper for guitar and piano or guitar and ensemble performances. In both situations, the guitar must be amplified with acoustic combo or hall speakers. Concert halls. In this situation, the piano accompaniment is no longer recommended. Guitar concertos can be performed with ensembles, chamber orchestras, or modern orchestras. The guitar must be amplified, preferably with the hall speakers. In the last setup, it is necessary to install monitors for orchestra. Now I'm showing two examples where the monitors have to be placed for each setup. Very often, the orchestra players are relying exclusively on the conductor for their orchestral gestures, because most of the time it is very difficult for them to listen to the soloist. As we can see, with larger orchestras, the guitar sound has to be amplified for the orchestra too, in order to improve the communication between soloist, players, and conductor. Now I will present the guitar techniques that are very successful in creating a powerful sound. Rest stroke. It is the most efficient technique to play melodical passages. Bartok pizzicato produces a powerful and sharp sound that can be perceived by listeners. Slap. Especially on bass strings, it is a very distinct sound that can be easily recognized. Rasguado is the most efficient way of playing chord sections. The sound is percussive and clear. Another way of playing chords is with the thumb. Although not as efficient as rasguado, the thumb produces a much warmer sound and can be used in different situations. Percussion techniques. Percussions on top, back and sides, and percussions on strings. There's another percussion effect named golpe. It came from flamenco music, and it's a combination of hitting the face of the guitar and plucking a string. All percussion effects produce a very distinct sound that can be very crisp when combined with melodical orchestra passages. Now I will describe combinations of guitar and instruments. Guitar and strings. It is a very common mixture. Usually the strings are playing long notes, chords, or pizzicato, while guitar is having the main melodical line. Another possibility is to combine the guitar with one violin, viola, cello, or double bass. Guitar and wind instruments. Usually composers avoid the mixture of guitar with all wind instrument parts. However, there are some strong combinations like guitar and flute, and guitar and clarinet. Oboe and English horn are also interesting combinations, but unfortunately less used. Guitar and brass. It is a very rare combination, and usually it is avoided due to the volume difference. Guitar and percussion. It is a very efficient combination, especially with non-melodic percussion instruments. The sound timbres are very different, and the separation between soloist and orchestra is clear. Another aspect to keep in mind are the approaches of writing for guitar and orchestra. There are two main approaches. Guitarist-composer approach. Guitarist composers are alternating guitar parts with orchestra tutti. In this way, the guitar qualities can be listened by the audience. Usually, guitar concertos written by guitarists are more idiomatic and explore more technical and sound possibilities of guitar. Non-guitarist composers' approach. They try to write guitar concertos as violin or piano concertos. Their approach is much more interesting and more pleasant for the audience, but sometimes the guitar cannot be heard in the mix with orchestra. They tend to write non-idiomatic passages with difficult shifts, unusual left-hand chords, and tough right-hand fingerings. Third chapter. Cătălin Ștefănescu's Concerto for Guitar and String Orchestra. The Concerto for Guitar and String Orchestra was written in 2007 and has three movements. First, Allegro giocoso, second, Largo, and third, Allegro. The premiere was in 2009 at Radio Hall, where Ionut Zanfirescu was the soloist and Ovidiu Dragan was the conductor of National Radio Orchestra. In contrast with his first concert for guitar and orchestra, the composer's approach is less complex with very simple melodic lines and a smaller orchestra. The concert can be performed with piano accompaniment, with string quintet, or string orchestra. The guitar part has loud dynamics as mezzo forte, forte, and fortissimo. The concert is written to be played using rest stroke and rasguado for a powerful sound. The second concert for guitar and string orchestra was written in neo-baroque style, and it is based on the dialogue between solo and tutti. We can easily observe the ritornello form in the first and third movements, while the second is written in lead form. Ștefănescu Pătrașcu used Romanian modes to create folkloric atmosphere. There are also rock and heavy metal influences in the rhythmical structure combined with folk dances. Dumitru Capoianu Concerto for Guitar and Orchestra was written in 1986 during summer holidays at Herculane. The music has many subtle tempo changes, many instrumental colors, and very spectacular orchestration. The premiere was on April 21st, 1989. Constantin Andrei was the soloist and Horia Andreescu the conductor of Târgu Mureș State Philharmonic Orchestra. 2 years later, on April 24th, 1991, the concert was recorded for National Radio Archive by Constantin Andrei, with Petre Zbarcea conducting Târgu Mureș State Philharmonic Orchestra. This was the first guitar concerto written by a Romanian composer, and it became one of the most famous works in Romanian guitar repertoire. The concert can be performed with piano accompaniment or chamber orchestra. The guitar part has a large range of dynamics from pianissimo in solo parts to fortissimo in tutti parts. The guitar part is very idiomatic, although Capoianu was a violin player. It is not using many guitar effects, but it blends them very well in the style. The concert for guitar and orchestra is combining film music with jazz and folkloric influences. Anatol Vieru Music for Guitar and Orchestra was written in 1996 and is dedicated to German guitarist Reinbert Evers. Although the concert is written in 3 movements, the composer linked them and the changes are very smooth. The macro structure of all 3 parts is based on sonata form. First movement is the exposition, second movement is the development part, and third movement is the re-exposition. Anatol Vieru is creating tension by dividing string parts in more and more voices. This creates a very dense texture, on which the popular French song Au clair de la lune is presented. The composer is using a large range of dynamics and many different percussive effects. In the end, I want to thank you all for watching my short conference. I hope we will meet soon in concert halls. Until then, I wish you all the best.